What's going on, Memphis? This is Reginald Clark, CEO of P3 Financial Group, and you're tuned into another powerful episode of Elevate from Burnout to Bliss, where we help you build wealth, gain clarity, and take control of your financial future. Now, today's going to be a little different. We're diving into a conversation that hit home for a lot of you. This is part 2 of our Sandwich Generation series, and after the last episode, the message was clear. You're not just concerned about your finances, you're concerned about your parents as well. The question is, how do we help them maintain their independence without putting you in a financial and an emotional bind? Because here's the reality, health can change quickly, and when it does, families are often left making decisions under pressure without a plan. So today we're going to break it all down. The real differences between Medicare and Medicaid, what they cover and what they don't, the role private insurance plays, and why having a plan in place before something happens can make all the difference in the world. And I'm not doing this alone, guys. Joining me today are 2 incredible financial consultants from P3 Financial Group, Melanie Jones and Sharonda Warner. Trust me, you're going to want to grab a pen for this one. Remember, guys, it's time to elevate. All right, guys, we're so excited to be back with you all today. This has been a challenging time to be on and off the air. We had a lot going on, but so glad to be back with you guys today. And as I mentioned in the intro, we're actually going to be joined today. Ebony's sitting this one out, but we're actually going to be joined today by 2 of our financial consultants that work with us at P3 Financial Group. So we have Melanie Jones with us today.
Hello, everyone.
And we got Sharonda Warner in the studio.
Hey, guys.
All right, and they're more than qualified to talk about what we're going to be addressing today. So we had such a strong feedback on the episode we did on the Sandwich Generation just a little while ago that we decided we need to do a part 2 for that. And what I want to do, so today's episode is entitled Sandwich Generation Part 2. We're going to focus on aging with dignity and planning with clarity.
That's good.
Aging with dignity and planning with clarity. And just as a quick refresher, the Sandwich Generation, when we talk about that, guys, and y'all know, of course, we're talking about people who find themselves, a lot of them are right where our listeners are. Mm-hmm. They found themselves sandwiched between taking care of aging parents while still financially, emotionally, all the stuff that go with it, taking care of children as well. Yeah. So they found themselves kind of sandwiched right there in the middle. But what we're going to focus on today, though, is that top generation, the parents' generation. So I'm going to start it off by kicking a question over to you, Melanie. Why do you think maintaining independence is such a major concern for age? I think when we look at all the different concerns they have, maintaining independence seems to be top shelf. Why do you think that is?
I think that the biggest concern for them is being a burden. They do not want to be a burden to anybody. Right. So if you've been on this planet for decades, and then all of a sudden you have gone from rearing children and taking care of your parents and grandparents, and to have someone else have to take care of you, I think sometimes that can be very, very mentally challenging. Yeah. But also just not wanting to be a responsibility to someone else. Yeah, right. So I think that's why their independence is so important. They want to maintain that for as long as possible. And
one more thing I add to that, along with what you said, not only have they been taking care of themselves, but they typically, most of adults have been in an authoritative position.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but now you're being told to go here, and okay, we got to take you here, and you're going to stay here, and
that's right.
So you're just losing a lot of that. Was you about to add something to that, Sharon?
Yeah, and I think sometimes what happens when you're losing your independence or you're struggling with that, it kind of takes your health down faster too. Absolutely. So I think that's really important.
I agree.
It definitely can. It definitely can. And some of those biggest health challenges, you talk about taking the health down, some of those health challenges that we see as parents age or just people in your family age, first, the mobility starts to slow down.
Yeah.
And with that can come, a series of issues as well. Because really just staying active and just continue to be, mobile and walking and stuff, that helps minimize a lot of the other health challenges.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of it. Like just being able to get out of bed in the morning.
Right.
Go fix your own breakfast.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom on your own. When our parents get to the point where they're totally depending on someone assisting them to do those daily activities,
right.
I think that's the part that really bothers them the most, right? Not having the ability to do those basic things that they see everybody else, doing is a very difficult or challenging thing for them.
It is.
Yeah. In fact, I remember my grandfather saying, like, he always would say, I'm a man, when he was transitioning. And it was so difficult for him to lose his independence. And so he would fuss at my aunts and things like that as they were coming in and try to take care of him. And I was like, y'all, as long as he can have some sense of independence, he'll keep going. And if you made him feel like he was in control, he would do the things that he needed to do, so.
That's a good point, Sean. And it made me think about my own grandfather. I remember when he had his first, this is in 99, he had his first heart attack in July of that year. And I remember the doctor saying, I was right there, and they told him, they said, Mr. Clark, you're going to start to feel like you're 100% again, but, your heart it won't be 100%. And I remember that time between, because he had a second heart attack in October when he passed, but I remember that space between July and October, he had to sit. And this is a man who got up every day, out the door, not getting up at 5:30, he was gone. 5:30 at work, didn't see him till the evening time. And now all of a sudden you have to sit.
Yeah.
And that probably was the time period that I remember him just not looking like himself because he just had to sit.
Yeah.
And it was just, and he couldn't take that no more. So he tried to put some gutters on the house, and that's how he passed. He just had to do some work.
Wow.
Because again, that had been taken from him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So guys, what we're talking about today is right now we're just identifying the process. And most of you all, if you have not experienced, I'm gonna tell you something my grandma used to say. If you haven't experienced this in your own family, just keep living.
Yes.
All you gotta do is keep living, and I promise you, you're gonna be dealing with these things, man, with somebody that you care a lot about.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Mel.
So, Reg, you were talking about your grandfather and him having the heart attack, and so oftentimes we don't know how quickly life can happen.
Yes, Lord.
You know, Reginald just said that, one day his grandfather was fine, doing everything that he typically did on a day-to-day basis, and then he had a heart attack and life changed immediately. So most of us don't necessarily anticipate something like that happening to our parents or aunties, uncles, grandparents. However, when it does happen, it can change very quickly.
And it doesn't just change, Melanie, the life of the person it happened to.
Absolutely.
The family changes, and you have to change. You have to if you come from a good family with a heart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
It changes the immediate orbit of that person. Everybody's life has changed.
Absolutely.
Guys, we're gonna move beyond right now. Again, we're just kind of laying the groundwork. We're gonna move beyond this part just a little bit. We're gonna start talking about what you need to be doing now. Not if, when these things happen.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's not if. So a lot of times in our space, as financial advisors, financial consultants, planners, whatever you want to call it, a lot of times we deal with the ifs of life.
That's right.
We're not talking about the ifs today.
Correct.
We're talking about what's going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? So, so if you're hearing me, trust me, this ain't one of those times you can say, oh, well, that'll be somebody else. No, I'm telling you.
It's gonna be you.
It's gonna be you. I'm telling you. So, but again, I like that you brought that up, Melanie, because, like you said, a lot of times these things, when a change comes, when somebody experiences a decline like this, again, it's going to be very quick.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can see things coming, and you can get some planning done out in front, some minimal planning, but a lot of times, oftentimes, it's going to be in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about, let me be clear for the listeners, we're not talking about death. We're not talking about death.
Yeah.
We're talking about the time period of your life between good health and then there's a lot of life right there.
That's right.
So how do we make that part of life between good health and death, how do we make that as good as it can be for a person?
Yeah.
Again, with the right planning. Because without the right planning, a person could possibly live that quarter of their life could be the worst quarter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not what we want.
No.
And I
That's
think
just not what we want.
you make a valid point. Just going back really quickly before we start to move on, Reg.
Go ahead.
What you just said is very, very important because that is what most people, when we talk about aging parents, that's what they've seen. They've seen the transition happen. And what they've seen is, at that point that happens to that individual, everything starts to decline.
Right.
I don't want to be that, right? And so I think that's where the concern comes in to it. So when we navigate whether or not, a parent is depressed or just not cooperating, a lot of times it's fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, let me ask you a question. I'm going to kick this over to you. Have you seen some real life scenarios that you can share where family members were caught off guard?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a client right now, and I ended up speaking with her daughter, but her mom was very mobile, out every day, doing everything, grocery shopping, and then all of a sudden she had a stroke. And now the daughter had to readjust her life. Right. So now you can't do the things that you were necessary. Your day-to-day life is changed because mom is no longer mobile. Mom can't walk on her own. Mom can't use her right hand, her right arm. And so absolutely, one day you're on the phone with, everything is fine. The next day, everything is changed. So it, like we were saying earlier, it comes at you fast.
It comes
at you fast, right? And you have to make decisions right then and there.
On the fly.
Absolutely.
Man, yeah, I'm so tempted to just jump to some of the solutions.
Right
now, I want to go straight to, hey, y'all, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
But we're going to get there. We're going to get there, all right? So, Sharonda, let me ask you a question, Sharonda. What do you think some of the emotional and sort of financial pressures that are placed on adult children in these situations? And you can speak about it from, I know what you dealt with your grandfather.
It is very hard. And, because I think about my mom's situation. My mom went to the hospital to have, yes, it was a major surgery, but she was only supposed to be in the hospital for 7 days at the most. She ended up being in the hospital for 2 months. Most of that time was in ICU. From that, we ended up having to have her feet amputated, both feet actually. And it went from this 7-day surgery to essentially 2 years for her to get back to, well, she never really got back to her real self because she was 10 toes down. Yeah, she didn't have any toes. But it was so hard emotionally on me because I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do to take care of my mom? Because I still have to be there to take care of her. I'm going to the hospital. I'm not really knowing, okay, I knew about the surgery that she was going to have, but that was just so hard. That was so difficult. And finances, as it relates to the finances, I was like, whatever I have to do.
Right.
To be honest, I actually was working at a home health agency, and I went in and said, you know what, I'm going to quit because I got to go take care of my mom. And my manager at the time, he said, no, don't worry about that. We got FMLA, you can take that. So, I was going strictly off of emotion. Like, I'm going to take care of my mama. This is my last parent.
Right.
I got to take care of my mom. So that, I would say it could be very stressful both ways, financially and emotionally.
I agree 100%. I want to add, too, when as an adult child, if you find yourself in that situation, one of the things you'll wrestle with is guilt. And the guilt I'm speaking of is you will want to be by your parents' side 100% of the time. But you know that, realistically, that you have other things that you have to do so that you can come back to your parents' side. Mm-hmm. But when you leave their side, you will feel guilty for not being there. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot. It's a range of emotions that you deal with as an adult child when you find yourself in this situation. But again, like I said, we're going to press on in a little bit toward some things people can do, and we also going to spend some time with clearing up some misconceptions that people have. But one thing I want to do, I want to get this in this segment before we take a break for some commercials. So, man, let me ask you a quick question, Mel. What do you think some of the early warning signs that a parent may need assistance? What some of those early signs that a parent may need some assistance?
So some of the
things may need assistance soon.
Yes. So if they're slowing down, if you call and typically at 9:00 they're up and it's 11:00 but they're still in bed, or if you've asked them that they have breakfast that morning and they don't remember, so little signs like that, or if they're having accidents, if you know what I mean. And so those are early warning signs that they're not being able to make it to the bathroom on time, or if they're falling more. Those are things you want to pay attention to. Those things are very, very good warning signs to let you know that, hey, something may be going on right now that we need to pay attention to. That's
a good point, man. And I would say if you see that, y'all, if you see what Melanie just described, you're in a heightened area for planning. Like, you need to go ahead and accelerate your planning.
Correct.
Right? That's a good point. Y'all, what we see, the three of us see, is families avoid having these conversations, quite frankly, until they're too late.
Yeah.
Let me say this, guys. Listen real carefully. You're going to have these conversations, either voluntarily or involuntarily.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're going to have them.
Yeah.
You're going to have them. One, you can do it in a space where you have time to plan, protect and prosper. Hey,
way to go.
Yeah, where you got time to really map things out. In the other scenario, you're going to do it under duress.
At the hospital.
Or at the point somebody got to be discharged right now, or it's just going to be
a whole lot of moving parts.
Yeah,
a lot of moving parts where emotions are elevated, so very logic is coming into the window. But again, you're going to have the conversation. So what we would encourage you to do is have the conversations now.
That's right.
Plan it out, guys. I'm telling you, there are. And we're going to talk about it just a little bit, but there are tools out here where you don't have to, fork up a lot of money to be able to make things work the way you need it to work. You may have assets, and again, I'm trying not to jump ahead, but you may have money in other places where you can do some stuff with. We'll talk about that. But I tell you what, we're right up against a break right now. Let's put a pin in here. We'll get back in just a second, guys. Stay with us through the commercial break. Remember, y'all, it's time to elevate. We are back. Guys, you're sitting here with Reginald Clark and Sharonda Warner and Melanie Jones on the Elevate podcast today. And what we've been talking about today is the part 2 to the sandwich generation, specifically aging with dignity and planning with clarity. I'm going to tell you guys, if you missed that first segment, you want to go back and catch it, you can catch it on the replay. But here was the main takeaway. The main takeaway for the first segment was that independence. We're talking about parents, or you may be in that age bracket yourself. Independence doesn't disappear overnight. The transition can happen faster than you think. So we just kind of laid the groundwork of why it's so important that people maintain their independence for as long as possible. But right now, what we want to do, we want to shift the conversation just a little bit over to, we want to get a little education on some critical differences that we hear people conflate a lot, and that's the difference between Medicare, Medicaid, and we're going to look at the gaps that families can, sometimes overlook. Mm-hmm. So, Melanie, you want to jump in first? I'll take it over you, Melanie. So, real simply, define what is Medicare, who qualifies for it, and then, Sharon, I'll come to you to talk about the Medicaid piece of it.
Okay.
All right, Rich. So, Medicare is basically a federal health insurance program for individuals over the age of 65.
Okay.
And for individuals who are younger than 65 but may have a disability like ALS, okay, or
some sort of permanent disability,
like renal disease or something like of that sort. So that's what Medicare is designed to cover. It is an actual health program, federal program.
So Medicare is the health insurance.
Health insurance.
Okay. So around Medicaid.
So Medicaid is a program that is based on your health care based on low finances. So if you don't make a lot of money, then you can qualify for Medicaid.
Okay, so listen, so hope y'all get it. So Medicare, mainly 65 years old, or if you're younger than 65, is because you have a disability. Medicaid is the program that's run for people who don't have a lot of money.
Yes, low income.
And let me say this. It can be federal or state.
Yes.
So where Medicare is federal.
Yeah, Medicaid is administered through the state.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right. So Medicare, so what does Medicare typically cover when it comes to health care and long-term care on the Medicare side?
So it covers your hospital.
Okay.
It covers your medical, like when you go to your doctor's appointments, things like that. It also covers your prescriptions. And then there's a part called Medicare Advantage, and that's that private sector. So they have other carriers that you can also add to your Medicare, but they're private.
Gotcha.
But
here's the question though. A lot of people think Medicare covers their long-term care.
Correct.
Does it cover the long-term care?
It does not.
It does not. So y'all, you got to be clear on that. Medicare does not cover the long-term care, which is what we're talking about, especially what we talked about in segment 1. Sharon, what about Medicaid on that tip?
So Medicaid covers the hospital stays, the doctor visits, your lab work, your prenatal care, and it also covers long-term care such as nursing home. So if you need to go to a nursing home facility, it covers that.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We're going to talk about Medicaid, the Medicaid nursing home facilities. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we go there, what would y'all say are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about Medicare?
That it's free.
That is free. Okay, talk to me.
It is not free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Medicare, you still have to pay premiums.
Yeah.
You still have to pay deductibles.
Right.
And you have to pay typically 20% out of pocket.
Okay.
So it is absolutely not free.
It's not free.
But most people think that Medicare is free, and it's not.
It's not. Okay.
And I would say a misconception about Medicaid is that although it's
Medicare or Medicaid?
Medicaid.
Okay.
Although it's free and you can get free services, that you're going to get the best services.
Okay. Well, since you brought that up, let's go ahead and dig into it. So, before we start talking about the services that you get with Medicaid, I want to talk about a concept that I hear people, because they have to do it, you have to qualify for Medicaid. If y'all just heard Sharonda, remember, Medicaid is the one for people that's low income. All right, no or low income and low assets. So you hear people talking about spending down their assets or transferring assets.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. What does that entail?
Okay. So let me add some. When we talk about low income, put a number to that. The amount you have to make on a monthly basis is between $994 and $2,982. So if you're in that range, then you can qualify for Medicaid.
Okay.
On average.
Okay.
So yeah, just to put some numbers to it.
Okay. And what about the assets part of it?
So the assets part is a very good conversation, Reg. You cannot have a whole lot of assets when it comes to utilizing Medicaid.
Okay.
If you do, then you definitely have to dissolve those assets. And they do what's called a 5-year look back.
Right.
Yeah.
So they actually go back to see, because a lot of people, and I've seen this throughout my career, people will say, oh, well, I'll just transfer this money into my daughter's name, my son's name. Oh, no. They're going to go back 5 years and check to see what you actually had in those accounts, in those CDs, and whatever assets, those investments. And if that money was there, you're going to have to tell them what happened to it.
Right.
So.
And guys, I want y'all to hear what has, for some people, become, okay, this is how I have to do it, the normal thing. What you have to do, if you have assets, you essentially have to make yourself poor to qualify for this program.
Yeah.
Y'all, I would submit to you that is not the goal.
Absolutely.
It's not the goal. we want to put the planning in place, which we're going to talk about that. I know I keep saying it's coming. We want to put the planning, the financial instruments in place to where you don't have to make yourself poor for this part of your life, for this mile of the race. Mm-hmm. That's not what we want to do because, quite frankly, the facilities that utilizes Medicaid typically are not the highest quality facility. And there's no slight against the people that work there. I want to be clear. There's no slight against them. They using government funding, which we know is very, that's a whole nother conversation there. So there's no slight against them, but the government funded facilities, I'll just say it a different way. Tell me what government funded facility in any genre of our society is top notch. So again, your plan should not be, I'm going to make myself poor so I can go get in a Medicaid long-term care facility.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Absolutely. I mean, because if you've ever gone to one of those types of facilities where the smell hits you before the door, is there a place where you really want your parents to be?
It's not.
Your loved ones to be? Is that a place? So that's why we're having this conversation. That's why the planning is important.
Super important. Super important. And people, please remember that Medicare is based on age, disability. Mm-hmm. Medicaid is based on income. Mm-hmm. And so when you're looking at the income part, when we talk about long-term care, if we're talking about how we're going to be able to use those funds when it comes to Medicaid, then we're talking about the income base. Yeah. They want to know that you don't have a certain amount of income before this actually kicks in.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because spending them. You talk about that spending down those assets. You're talking about legally reducing your accountable resources below state limits. Most of the time, $2,000 to qualify. And like Mel said, that 5-year look back, guys, you don't want to have to make yourself poor, man. How about we do the planning now to where we have enough money to where you go get in the best facility that's in your area, the top notch. I mean, the level of service is there, the skilled nursing is there, everybody's on point. Mm-hmm. Let's do the planning now to where we can make this, whether it's for you or for your parents, if there's enough time. Let's put the stuff in place now to where this can be some true golden years.
Absolutely.
Because we can do that. And what we don't want to do, we want to change the thought process. If you've thought, okay, I got to get this out of my name so that I can look poor on paper so that I can go to, XYZ facility. That's just not what we want to do.
Yeah, we definitely got to change the mindset.
So I think it starts there.
Yeah.
The mindset, yeah.
It starts with the mindset. So, Sharonda, what does the private insurance, and I know we're going to get into the particulars in the next segment, but how does some of the private insurance things out there start to fill in some of these gaps we're talking about?
So with the private insurance, it allows you to be able to purchase the long-term care, things like that,
and assistance with that Medicaid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you can have that in addition to. So if Medicaid is willing to pay this amount towards the facility, the private insurance kicks in and said, okay, we'll cover the rest so that you can go ahead and be in that best facility. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that, private insurance allows you to have. But then that is an added cost.
It's an added cost, right.
So planning is still important because you have to make sure that you're in a position to do so, right, to get that private insurance during those years.
There you go. It is very dangerous to assume, guys, that the government is going to take care of it.
Man.
This is just not an area of your life you want to rely on the government to do the right thing.
Well, if 2025 and 2026 haven't showed us anything else, is that programs are disposable.
Yes, at best. You're so right.
Yeah.
I have me and some people, we own an apartment complex here, and in that particular complex, it's mainly veterans. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing right now a big reduction in the amount of housing money that the government is allowing for these vets to stay. So we're seeing programs being cut all over the board. And so you don't want, again, this part of your life to be at the whims of political administrations who may have more of a burden for other parts of society. They may not care too much about the aging population. You know what I'm saying? They may be more interested in whoever. So again, this is not something you want to just sit back. You know, I would dare say, we got to give as much attention to this area as we do retirement planning. And maybe down through the years, you know, I can maybe say as a planner, I haven't given as much attention to this area as I've given to accumulation of investing, retirement. But it's time now. I'm making myself more accountable to say, hey, no, if you're meeting with me, we're going to start talking about this way more than we did in the past.
Because so let's say we plan for your retirement. And we put all these assets in place. Right. And then something happens. And now you have to get rid of it. Or something happens where now you have an aging parent and you have to utilize the retirement that you were going to live off of to now take care of that parent. Right. So having these things in place, having that conversation should be a part of the whole planning process. It should. When it comes to retirement, because the likelihood, like we talked about earlier, of something happening like that is very, very likely.
It's very great. Yeah, absolutely. So again, we just making ourselves accountable to our clients to say, hey, we're not going to leave these boxes unchecked, and no one going forward will ever be able to say, man, we never had that conversation. No, because we are going to have these conversations, and we are going to make you think, and we are going to make you make some decisions. Right. Even if your decision is, you know what, I'm not going to deal with it. But you will have made that decision. Yeah. It won't go undone. So guys, I tell you what, because here's the thing, it's a very key takeaway. If you don't understand the gaps, you can't protect your family from them. And so in this next segment, we're going to take another commercial break, but in this next segment, stay with us. We're going to actually give you solutions. This is the part that most of you want to catch. We're going to give you solutions, things you can do now to be sure you're not caught in this leg of the race unprepared. Stay with us through the commercial break, guys. Remember, it's time to elevate.
This episode of the Elevate Podcast is brought to you by P3 Wealth Management, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Tennessee. Whether you're investing, preparing for retirement, or creating a lasting legacy, our team is here to guide you every step of the way. At P3 Wealth Management, we turn your financial goals into a strategy, so you can focus on living the life you worked hard for. Visit p3wealth.com to schedule your consultation today, or call us at 901-209-4015. That's p3wealth.com. Plan, protect, and prosper.
Back for this final segment of today's episode of Burnout to Bliss, the Elevate Podcast, where today we've been talking about the part 2 conversation of the sandwich generation. We're talking about how do we help you, first of all, as well as possibly your parents. How do we help you get to that last leg of your race with as much dignity, grace, and independence as you possibly can? In the previous segment, we just broke down the differences between Medicare, Medicaid, helping people to understand, because oftentimes people just kind of lump those together, but they do two separate things that you need to be aware of. But in this last segment, guys, probably one I'm the most excited about, is some practical solutions. Every Elevate podcast, we give you practical solutions to common problems. So what we want to talk about right here are some proactive solutions and strategies that people can use to protect their independence and their finances. Sharon, I got a quick question for you. When we talk about proactive solutions, you and I both know how important timing is. Talk to us, Sharon. Why is timing so important when it comes to planning for some of these health-related risks?
Because, first of all, you have to plan or make those decisions while you're healthy. Because if you're unhealthy, if you're needing life insurance or whatever, you won't qualify for it once you get unhealthy. Right. So you want to do whatever decision you're going to make, you want to do it while you're healthy.
Correct.
You absolutely have to. Yeah. No one's going to look at I remember one time, I remember this very, very clearly. A good friend of mine who, he knows what I, do for a living. He called me and said that they were putting his father on life support. And he called and asked me, can I get some insurance on him?
I've had that happen.
Absolutely not. At this point of the game, and it broke my heart to say no. Yeah. No, I mean, he's literally going on to life support. So you're talking in, short amount of time here. But it's nothing can be done at this point. You have to put this stuff in place, guys. The thing about financial products, insurance, and all that stuff, you actually got to put it in place when you don't need it.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And I think that's the challenge for most people. They want to get it when they need it. Yeah. But at that point, they're not going to give it to you.
That's right.
It's like trying to get a fire insurance policy when you see the house on fire.
That's right.
It's not
going to work.
It just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. So, Melanie, I've been in the game long enough. I remember when life insurance didn't have what we have today, was something called living benefits. Living benefits have become very, very popular here in the last, probably 10 years. Yeah. Talk to me about living benefits, Melanie. What is living benefits, how it attaches to life insurance, and what makes it so popular as it relates to the conversation we're having today?
So living benefits, when it in reference to life insurance, deals with what we call riders. Okay. And many policies, it comes along with the actual life insurance policy. And that's the chronic illness, critical illness, or long-term care rider. And some of them also have Alzheimer riders. Alzheimer's, I always get that, the H is the Z, but Alzheimer's riders. So they, life insurance companies understand that the elements that comes along when it comes to a client actually passing away and living throughout those years, there may be things that actually happens. And so they've incorporated those type of things. Some of them have critical injury, critical illness, terminal illness, a whole lot of different riders that can be associated with that long-term care piece.
And just so, that great explanation, Melanie, just so people understand what Melanie's talking about, she's talking about these riders, these benefits are built into life insurance policies, or some. Matter of fact, I would suggest if you have a policy and yours does not have these riders,
oh, absolutely,
you need to speak to somebody, one of us or somebody else that know what they're talking about, to get that immediately. Yeah, because it can. So what it does, guys, it allows you to use the insurance amount that, God forbid you pass, that will go to your beneficiary. You can use that while you're living to cover these things we've been talking about, so that you can be in a quality facility, so that you don't have to spend down your assets. You know what I'm saying? So this is very, very crucial piece of planning right here. Yeah. And Sharonda, so a lot of people were confused what we're talking about right now with long-term care, which is slightly different. Sharonda, tell us, what's the difference between what Melanie's talking about, the living benefits, and traditional long-term care policies?
So with a traditional long-term care policy, it's basically you use it or lose it. So you have access to these benefits while you're living. Right. And if you don't use it in life, you just essentially have given the policy away.
Yep, so that's right. Long-term care, if you never need it, you've been paying those premiums for nothing. Whereas if these benefits are built into a life insurance policy, and let's say you never need the long-term care, you never experience critical illness, you don't miss anything because your beneficiary will still get the death benefit at some point. But again, it's not like that with and I'm going to tell you something else about traditional long-term care. I back when I was years ago when I was in MetLife, we had some then. It's a very expensive product to own, and the benefits are very limited. So quite frankly, we didn't sell a lot, especially in our community where now mama coming to my house, that sort of thing. So we really didn't see a lot of people buying it. Again, the premiums were high, benefits were low, and it just kind of was counter culture to what kind of how we take care of our aging parents.
Correct.
But again, if we do this, if you have the type of life insurance policy that incorporates it, then it makes it that much sweeter. Now, Melanie.
Yes.
One of the wealth transfer tools that we've been using lately does this beautifully.
It does.
Talk to us about that one. Don't give the name of the company, though.
Okay.
If y'all want to know the name of the company, you're going to have to call us for this. But I'm serious. We ain't giving that away. You got to call us. But, man, I do want you to tell them what this particular company has been doing.
Yeah. So this company, I think it married the two.
It did.
So it allows you to take a lump sum
that you already have.
So this is money that you're just repositioning, basically. You're taking it from the left hand, putting it into the right hand. Okay. And so you're going to place this lump sum into this life insurance policy. So I want to be clear that it is a life insurance policy. And that policy is what we consider paid up. You never have to put anything else in this policy. And then once you have that policy in place, you get all of these amazing benefits. The chronic illness rider, the terminal illness, all of those things come in. But then they have other benefits also. So the policy itself is designed for you to be able to utilize the death benefit while you're living. Right. Because a lot of people get confused and think you're using the cash value, but you're actually utilizing the death benefit. So that the cash value, the death benefit doubles from that amount, so that you can absolutely from day one have enough just in case that actually happens to you. So they've essentially created a policy that long-term care is baked right into it. So you have like the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. I'm going to give you a great explanation, Melanie. I'm going to give you a real life nuts and bolts example of what Melanie's talking about. I have a client who could not qualify for regular life insurance because he has some health challenges. And I introduced this particular company to him, and I said, man, I think this will work for what you got going on. So he had about 50,000, well, a little more than 50,000 in a CD that he didn't really have any plans for. It's just growing. And that sort of thing. So I said, you know what? If we like Melanie said, we just repositioned that 50,000. We dropped it in his life insurance policy. Day one, they gave him $115,000 worth of coverage.
Come on now.
Keep it, and that's paid up for life, right? Now, what happens to the 50? He still got access to the $50,000 if he needs it. It's going to continue to grow. Matter of fact, it's going to grow faster than it was growing in the CD. And like Melanie just said, should he need the long-term care piece, the chronic illness, the critical, all that stuff that we talked about, it's baked right in there too. So it does three things, man. It got that accumulation piece, it has that death benefit piece, and it got the long-term care. And guess how much the monthly premium is? Zero. Because you don't. Once we transfer the money in, boom, it's paid up for life. Guys, I'm telling you, we have been changing family situations with this particular strategy.
Yeah. And I'll say this really quickly. One of the conversations that me and Reginald was having in reference to when he was actually presenting this, he was doing a presentation on it. I noticed that a lot of clients were more attracted to this aspect for the long-term piece than anything else. Right.
Because that particular seminar, we did it, we were looking at the wealth transfer part of it.
Correct.
Being able to take, $100,000, turn it into $180,000 immediately for transfer. But people are like, yeah, that's cool, but I want to talk about this.
You said does what now?
Right, their long-term care piece. That's right.
Because they want to maintain their independence.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
That's what it was about.
That's what it's about. They want to make sure that they're taking care of themselves.
So, Sharonda, when a person wait too long, what usually happens when you see people wait too long to put things in place for themselves?
It's hard. It's hard because, one, we have to... It's almost like we're scrambling to come up with a solution. And sometimes it could be what we can come up with. And it's definitely, in most cases, not what they would have wanted.
Right.
And that's the hard part because you just kind of like, oh, I got to see what solution we have available. And from there, we have to make the best of it.
Yeah, it really turns into a game of what can we get?
Yeah.
If anything, versus what do you actually want to have.
People become reactive instead of being proactive. So now you're in a reactive situation where you're just reacting to every different scenario. You're not really planning for it. You're just having to react to it, which is very contradictory when it comes to the planning piece.
Exactly. And one of the things, too, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all this. Here with us, we don't talk to you a lot about what you need because that's just not how life works. We talk, most of our conversations are around what do you want? Yes. What do you want to happen, not what you need to happen. Yeah. But if we take away time, if we don't plan with the proper amount of time, then we got to talk about not only want, not need, but what can we get?
Exactly.
You know, and that's not what you want, man.
Yeah,
you want to. Yeah. So when you think about, again, the type of place you want to be in, or being in your home, which may be your home, if that's what you want, how do we make that happen?
That's right.
Yeah. If we got time now, how do we make that happen? Yeah. How do we make that happen? So, proper planning can help preserve, like we said, the dignity and the financial stability. But I do want to jump back real quick because I don't want to gloss over, guys. I'm telling you all what we've been able to do with this one company that's offering something very unique. When I think about another client who had prostate cancer and we could not get him covered anywhere. Wow. And I ran this particular idea by him because he really wanted coverage, mainly for his wife, and ran this strategy by him, swung through with no problems at all. Again, one lump sum, boom, paid up for life, and it's doing all the stuff we wanted to do. So, guys, that particular strategy, you can reach out to any one of us about it. I think what people like the best, like Melanie said, the long-term care piece, and I think the second thing they like is that there's no monthly premium.
Oh, yes.
Because all we do is we just take in lump sum of money that's somewhere else. It could be savings account, it could be in a CD, it could be in an annuity, it could be wherever it is, and we just transfer it over there. Yeah. And we still got access to it.
That's right.
It's not like we're spending it.
Yeah.
We just put it over there, and boom, we get an explosion of benefits. That's really helpful. So, y'all, believe it or not, we got to start signing off. Time has just gone by just that quick. Y'all, we really hope this part 2 of this conversation has been beneficial, just to help people see things you need to be thinking about, things you need to be doing now before you get to this point. And like I mentioned before, it's not if, it's a when. Melanie, go ahead and tell the people how they can find you.
They can find me on Instagram at Mel the Money Mentor, and on Facebook as Mel the Money Mentor.
Can they call you?
Yes, they can call me.
Okay.
P3 Financial Group, 901-209-4015.
And do you have an extension?
Extension 110.
Okay,
I was coming with the ridge.
You slow it. All right, go ahead, Sharonda.
You can find me on Facebook at Sharonda Warner, or on Instagram as Sharonda the Money Chick, or here at the office, 901-209-4015, extension 108.
All right, guys, and y'all know how to get a hold to me, Reggie, the Money Jedi. And again, same phone number, 901-209-4015 is how you can reach me. Guys, we just want to encourage you as we sign off to have these conversations with your parents now. Invite them. Once you all get together, holler at one of us. We'll conduct what we call family conversations. We'll do a family meeting. You can get the whole household there. We'll come
Absolutely.
We'll just come in and have a conversation with the whole family. Reach out to us. We'd be glad to do it. Go ahead, Sharonda.
Yeah, I just definitely want to reiterate, it's so important to have that conversation, because if something is really major going on with your loved one and you're emotional, it's so hard to think about what that person wants in a situation like that. So if you don't get anything else out of this conversation, that would be the thing. Have the conversation. Start the plan today.
Start it today. And I'm going to say this as I sign off. This conversation we had today, each one of us have experienced this in a very meaningful way. So I guarantee if you want to engage us in this conversation, we're gonna give you what you truly, truly need to be able to make this part of your life or your parents' life as graceful as it can possibly be. Guys, join us next week. We'll be right back here on Power 104.1, The Source, at 1 o'clock every Sunday. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Remember, it's time to elevate.